So we're doing text 3 today, right?
Yeah, Prabhuji.
Text 3. Okay.
3.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So, Tasmad Bhavantam Mama Samshayartham.
Tasmad Bhavantam Mama Samshayartham.
Prakshyami Paschad Adhuna Subodham.
Prakshyami Paschad Adhuna Subodham.
Adhyatma Yoga Grasitam Taboktam.
Adhyatma Yoga Gratitam Taboktam.
Akhyahi Kautuhal Chetaso Me.
Adhyatmi Kautuk Chetasam me.
Would like to read?
Very true.
Yes, please.
Krishna. Translation. Whatever doubts I have about a particular subject matter, I shall ask you about later. For the time being, these mysterious yoga instructions you have given me for self-realization appear very difficult to understand. Please repeat them in a simple way so that I can understand them. My mind is very inquisitive and I want to understand this clearly. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, The Vedic literature instructs Tasmad Gurum Prapadyeta Jidnyasu Shreya Uttamam. An intelligent man must be very inquisitive to know the transcendental science deeply. Therefore, one must approach a guru, a spiritual master. Although Jadabharat explained everything to Maharaj Rahugat, it appears that his intelligence was not perfect enough to understand clearly. He therefore requested a further explanation. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 4.34, Tad Vidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya. The student must approach a spiritual master and surrender unto him fully, Pranipatena. He must also question him in order to understand his instructions, Pariprashnena. One should not only surrender to the spiritual master, but also render loving service unto him, Sevaya, so that the spiritual master will be pleased with the student and explain the transcendental subject matter more clearly. A challenging spirit before the spiritual master should be avoided if one is at all interested in learning the Vedic instructions in depth. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. For the time being, these mysterious yoga instructions you have given me for self-realization appear very difficult to understand. Please repeat them in a simple way so that I can understand them. My mind is very inquisitive and I want to understand this clearly. See, Tasmad Gurum Prapadyeta Jigyasu Shreya Uttamam. So one should be very, very curious. Especially, see, the thing is, any subject matter is not easy to understand. If you see, like even in material world, subject matters are so difficult. One may think that one has understood, but when one goes in depth, one realizes that even material topics are so difficult to understand. So what to speak of spiritual subject matters? Actually, if you read Bhagavad Gita 100 times, you will understand Bhagavad Gita in 100 different ways. So it's not at all an easy subject matter. Because every time you read it, you'll have a newer realization. So if one thinks that one is accomplished in the knowledge of bhakti, then one has actually not understood anything at all. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. So there must be service. There must be, and it must be, see, one must approach a spiritual master with the mood of submissiveness. One cannot challenge a spiritual master. So in the scriptures also, it is written that the spiritual master is as good as Krishna himself. Actually, Srila Prabhupada is the best example of a bona fide disciple. Srila Prabhupada never questioned the instructions of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Srila Prabhupada mentions that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was never very much liked by his own disciples also. Like Srila Prabhupada, like he says, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had an approach of preaching with a begging bowl in one hand and a stick in another. Prabhupada used to call it. So this kind of preaching he used to do. So he would beat the opponents with a stick. And some of his own disciples did not agree with that. And Srila Prabhupada mentions that all of these disciples fell down. So if one challenges one's own spiritual master, then one's fall down is imminent. Even in our ISKCON we have seen. So many disciples of Prabhupada do not agree with him. Like, I was speaking to one disciple of Prabhupada, and he was like, he's very senior sannyasi, so I wouldn't take his name here. And he was talking about many things, and then he said, but I don't agree with Srila Prabhupada on this. So what's the use? That's nonsense. That's complete nonsense. Then all that shaving of head, wearing saffron, talking philosophy is all just garbage. The moment you say you don't agree with spiritual master, your connection with Krishna is broken. Then it's just it's just all sound and sight. It just remains an appearance, because the actual connection with the spiritual master is gone. That knowledge will dwindle for some time, that purity will dwindle for some time, but eventually it will disappear. So one has to surrender 100% to the spiritual master. Of course, one has to test the qualification of the spiritual master, but when you are once convinced, then you should never not disagree. Chakshudan dilo jai janme janme prabhu se. See, a lot of things can be said about this particular subject matter, but like to put it in short, spiritual master is the absolute connection with Krishna. And a bona fide spiritual master is as good as Krishna himself. So Srila Prabhupada writes, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur actually explains that the bona fide spiritual master is only someone who is an Uttam Adhikari, one who has seen Krishna face to face. A Madhyam Adhikari can be an officiating spiritual master, and a Kanishta Adhikari cannot be a spiritual master. So one who is still completely under the illusion of material energy, he cannot be a spiritual master. One who has reached the stage of Madhyam Adhikar, he can be an officiating spiritual master. He can connect one to the Parampara. This is the mistake that Ritvix make, that that nobody can be a spiritual master except Prabhupada. So no, one can be. But the Uttam Adhikari remains the Sadguru, because from him comes the pure spiritual name. So the name of Krishna, because he has seen Krishna. He has, like Srila Prabhupada puts, he has shaken hands with Krishna. But one must accept the spiritual master wholeheartedly. One should realize that spiritual master is the connection with Krishna. One cannot accept spiritual master as a fashion. One cannot argue with one's spiritual master, because that is nonsense. You have what knowledge you have to argue with spiritual master. You can argue with some munis, but then each muni is qualified. If a disciple thinks he is qualified in front of his spiritual master, then he's a fool. Then he's not worth. Actually, like Srila Prabhupada says, a bona fide disciple is as rare as a bona fide spiritual master. So even while practicing, one should understand. Actually, if one wants to understand what is Guru Parampara, one should study the Chaitanya Charitamrita very carefully. So many people, like, they study books and they think that they are very knowledgeable. Now they know. But that is another trick of Maya. That is just our ahankar. So you see, you need wisdom to even understand books. One can read, but one should understand that bhakti is not engineering or medicine or law or anything. Simply by memorizing scriptures, one does not become a pandit. Pandit means panditaha samadarshina. One who develops that vision, that can be a pandit. But if one thinks that one is better, one is good, one is knowledgeable, then that is actually a sign one should understand that one has not understood spiritual science. Actually, the first sign of spiritual maturity is that one understands that one is totally unqualified. If one thinks, oh, I'm intelligent, I'm sincere, I'm pure, then one is actually very fallen. Because the sign that we are impure is that we are in the material world. The very sign that we are impure is that we have not seen Krishna. If you are pure, you see Krishna. You see, Krishna Surya Sam Maya Hai Andhakar. So try to understand this verse very nicely. We just say, oh, when I chant Krishna, then ignorance is gone. Yes, that is true, but not the way we understand. Krishna Surya Sam Maya Hai Andhakar. So if we are not seeing Krishna, then we are very much in Maya. Until such time that Krishna is manifest in front of us as Krishna, two-handed Shyam Sundar, we are in Maya. So we should understand, and thinking as such, we should remain humble. We cannot think, oh, I am very staunch, I am very pure, I am very powerful, very advanced. Nothing. You haven't seen Krishna, you are following. That's why you see, we have these Vaishnava songs like Danya O Prapatti, or we have, O He Vaishnava Thakur. You have these kind of songs written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Narottam Das Thakur. This is an expression of humility. This is a genuine humility. Not like, oh, Hare Krishna Prabhu, please give me the dust of your lotus feet. That's all nonsense. That is complete nonsense, really. So we have to become really humble. We have to understand that we have no knowledge. And someone who has seen Krishna has all the knowledge. So with this mood, when one approaches a spiritual master, then one will become qualified to receive that knowledge. Otherwise, that knowledge will only manifest as so many words within the heart. One will just remember everything, but one's material ambitions will remain intact. If one thinks that one still wants to make money, one still wants to raise the family, one wants to do this, one wants to do that, one has material ambitions, one is not pure. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments here?
Hare Krishna was Dandava Pranam. Prabhuji, one thing I want to know with total humility,
Yes.
that whenever Prabhupada gives his views on a text, that what his title is purport. Why purport? Because purport means something different than the view of a person or the explanation of a text. So why his title is purport?
What is the meaning of purport?
Purport means basically to give an impression of being something, of having done something when this may not be true.
Yeah, that is the verb part of it.
Yeah.
Purport, the verb.
That is meaning of purport.
Yeah.
But what Prabhupada is writing is absolutely the comments he's giving, his views on the particular text. So this is not even his views. He's translating it according to scriptures, etc.
So you see, Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada has used these words, and Srila Prabhupada's English is Victorian English.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, so that Victorian English has a different meaning. Like Srila Prabhupada uses the word propaganda very liberally. If you read Prabhupada's older essays, 1940s and 50s, the word propaganda is very nicely used there. You know, we should see to it that propaganda of Lord Chaitanya's cult is established. Now, the words cult, propaganda, they have very different meaning now. When we say cult now, we probably mean something like Osho or something nasty. When we say propaganda, we probably mean something like the Islamic State or Bajrang Dal or something like that. But the original meanings of these words are very positive. Like as far back as 1980s, when I was a child, the word gay still meant someone who was happy. Now today, if you ask me, I can't tell you that I am gay. Just say I'm happy.
I agree. Gay and propaganda similarly uses rascal word very, very often.
Yes, rascal word doesn't even exist anymore. Nobody uses rascal anymore.
But he has used it because you're right. Maybe the Victorian English he was using, and mostly these comments are about 40 years back. He must have written this more than 40 years back.
Yeah, 50 years ago, actually.
So that I agree. It must be Victorian English we use. Mount I was feeling the same thing. But today they write something different. But both in Bhagavad Gita and here, he uses the word purport. I got it. Thank you.
Actually, many of the people misinterpret the word rascal. Actually, even when the first time I heard rascal when I came to ISKCON, so I thought, oh, this is a very abusing word. Later on, I understood rascal means a very mischievous person or one who doesn't follow some instructions or like that, something like that. Like
that is said probably in affection. In affection, you can use the word rascal. Then it's a different thing. Other rascals means a badmash, gunda.
No. Yeah, that is a highly mischievous person is called a rascal. Somebody who doesn't follow the norm, who creates nuisance or ruckus. So then they are called as a rascal.
We also call sometimes
but
rascal.
People at my time understood rascal as something very abusive.
Yes, it was.
Which cannot speak also.
Yeah. Even today, it is abusive. But earlier, it was with affection. You asking somebody very close to you. I think this is the gap of the age of use of English literature.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So purport has actually two meanings. One is to present an appearance purportedly. So And the other one is the noun, purport, the real meaning.
Yeah.
So this purport as meaning is not even used anymore. It's completely out of usage. It's nowadays we use the word explanation.
Yes, that's what my idea.
Yeah. But purport is actually a more Victorian, a more poetic usage of this word. So purport means explanation or meaning.
Yeah. Yeah, but it makes sense. I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
It's perfect. I mean, it's good you asked this question because many others may have had this doubt, or rather, many may not even get this doubt.
I'm getting out after 4 years now. I said, kid, because this is not a very English word right now. So I started some research on that. I thought I would discuss today in the evening.
Yeah, I'm able to understand this because I used to read Arthur Conan Doyle and Charles Dickens. So these words are not very uncommon to me.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but I can understand that common men would find them very difficult to understand.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So moving on to text 4. Yadaha Yogeshwara Drishyamanam Kriya Phalam Sad Vyavahara Moolam. Nahya Anjasa Tattva Vimarshanaya Bhavan Amushmin Brahmate Manome.
Mary.
Oh, go ahead, Prabhuji.
Go ahead, Prabhuji. Go ahead. Ladies first.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. O Master of Yogic Power, you said that. O Master of Yogic Power, you said that fatigue resulting from moving the body here and there is appreciated by direct perception, but actually there is no fatigue. It simply exists as a matter of formality. But such inquiries and answers, no one come to the conclusion of. By such inquiries and answers, no one can come to the conclusion of the absolute truth. Because of your presentation of this statement, my mind is a little disturbed. Purport. Formal inquiries and answers about the bodily conception do not constitute knowledge of absolute truth. Knowledge of absolute truth is quite different from the formal understanding of bodily pains and pleasures. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna informs Arjuna that the pains and the pleasures experienced in relation to the body are temporary. They come and go. One should not be disturbed by them, but should tolerate them and continue with spiritual realizations. Thank you, Ji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much. So, O Master of the Yogic Power, you said that fatigue resulting from moving the body here and there is appreciated by direct perception, but actually there is no fatigue. It simply exists as a matter of formality. So, you see, Maharaj Rahuguna had posed as a very learned man. He said, like, I am the king, I am the ruler. And then he had criticized Jadbharat. You certainly appear very fatigued because you have carried this palanquin alone, without assistance for a long time and for a long distance. Besides that, due to your old age, you have become greatly troubled. My dear friend, I see that you are not very firm, nor very stout, very strong and stout. Aren't your fellow carriers cooperating with you? In this way, the king criticized Jadbharat with sarcastic words. So Jadbharat had criticized in such a manner. So he thought that, the firmness of the body, youth, these are very important. But actually, this is just nonsense. This is bodily conception of life. I am beautiful, I am young, I am handsome. All this is just like it has no real consequence in one's life. And yet, in the material world, these are considered very powerful attributes. These are considered most desirable attributes. So we see the story of that princess who was married to Chavan Rishi. Chavan Rishi was a very old man. And he was performing his austerities on the banks of a river. And ants built their anthill on top of it. So this princess, she appeared there and she saw the hole and she poked it with a stick. And Chavan Rishi's eye got damaged. And he got very angry. So the king asked for an apology. So the king demanded that princess be married to him as a punishment. And the king agreed. So in those days, like nobody cares. In today's age, the king would have simply killed the Muni. Because we live in an age of barbarians. But in the previous age, people were very cultured. The king could understand. And he also understood that it makes no sense at all. Like, everyone, this was Vedic Varnashram. That people knew that the rules and regulations of Varnashram were more important than one's so-called conception about body and society. So it simply exists as a matter of formality. By such inquiries and answers, no one can come to the conclusion of absolute truth. Because of your presentation of this statement, my mind is a little disturbed. So, see, now the king is agreeing that his mind is disturbed because he's in a materialistic conception of life. His mind is not disturbed because Jada Bharat has just said that, or that his ego is hurt. His mind is disturbed because he realizes that there is a higher truth than what he has spoken. And now he wants to know. He wants to know what is the actual truth. What is it that he should know? What is it that he doesn't know? Yes, Hare Krishna. Is any questions or comments? So actually, just to continue this explanation a little bit, that in this world we see that people are very much concerned about the maintenance of their body, their family, their society, even the devotees. Like devotees are ultra nationalistic and they are like very cautious about their so-called responsibilities, so-called dharma. And to the extent that they even neglect spiritual life. So this is a sign of ignorance. Tamoguna. This is devotion and ignorance. One has to understand that as soon as one has become a devotee of Lord Krishna, everything else becomes secondary. And nonsense. And such nonsense as family, society, all of this is just an illusion. These are completely secondary. They are like complete nonsense. One may carry on as long as one is conditioned, but this should not be taken as a priority of one's life. Actually, that's the reason why so many devotees become disturbed when we talk about Prabhupada or his instructions. Because these so-called devotees are just nonsense. They are just here for the show. They'll keep on chanting. They'll keep on chanting and never become devotees. Bahu janma jadi kare shravana kirtan. Kabhutana pave Krishna pade premadhan. Because if one hangs on to one's material conceptions, one is never going to progress. If one thinks that he's accomplished, he's pure, he's advanced, he's austere, one is not going to progress. Because then there is no question of mercy. I am so pure, I don't need Krishna's mercy. I am austere, I am intelligent, I am knowledgeable. Then why do I need Krishna? That's the other way of saying. This is a synonymous statement. I am knowledgeable means I have knowledge. That means I don't need anything from Krishna. In this way, one will never progress in bhakti. So, one has to get rid of this misconception, this bodily misconception, mental misconception. One has to understand that one is actually nothing without Krishna. Everything belongs to Krishna and we are completely unqualified. So when we submit ourselves, that's the meaning of initiation, to surrender to the spiritual master. Surrender means that I am nothing, like Srila Prabhupada, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself said. Murkha jani guru karela shasana. When Prakashana Saraswati asked Mahaprabhu, why are you chanting and dancing like a sentimentalist? Why don't you study Vedanta? So Mahaprabhu says, Murkha jani guru mora karela shasana. My spiritual master, considering me a fool, he disciplined me. He said, you better chant the holy name. In other words, Mahaprabhu was saying that, my dear Prakashanand, you are a great fool. By studying Vedanta, you think you are knowledgeable, but actually you are completely in ignorance. Vedaishya sarver aham eva vedya. By all our knowledge, by all our austerities, we have to know Krishna. So if we think we have a lot of knowledge and we realize that we still don't know Krishna, then we should understand that we are ignorant. So therefore, Maharaj Rahugana is now feeling agitation in his mind because he realizes that he is completely ignorant, and all this while he thought he was a knowledgeable person. Yes. We continue. Text 5, 6.
One request.
Yeah.
We say everything belongs to Krishna. You're right. That my soul belongs to Krishna, my spiritual self, and my body also belongs to Krishna. And I must look after both. Soul I should develop as a spirituality. Similarly, the body which belongs to Krishna should also be looked after. So why? Why then we say the body should not be looked after?
Okay, simple explanation, Prabhu. What is this body? What is the purpose of the body?
It is carrying the spirit soul. I will put it this way.
Hmm.
It
So-
is a cage made for this spirit soul for this life.
Okay. So let me give you one very crude example, Prabhu. Suppose you are traveling from Bombay to Pune in a car. Now, if the car suffers, say, low tire pressure or low petrol, you'll stop at a petrol pump, you'll fill up the air, you'll fill up petrol, you'll clean the windows, you'll clean the windshield. You'll do that. You can't say, oh no, I have to drive. It doesn't matter if there is no fuel, doesn't matter if there is no tires, I'll just drive anyhow. I'll drive on wheel rims and I'll reach Pune. You won't do that, right? So body has to be maintained.
Ah,
But at the
I
same time,
I
at the
agree.
same time,
You know what
No,
I'm
now
saying?
one more thing is in Pune, just before you reach Khopoli, there are these fantastic car workshops which fix cars, which literally, like they say, as they say, pimp up the ride.
Yeah.
They can really jazz up your car.
Mhm.
So if you're driving from Bombay to Pune, you're not going to go to one of those garages and tell them, jazz up my car, let's tune the engine, let's increase the horsepower, let's, put some spoilers here, let's make it look like a Formula One car. No,
Okay.
you'll say, okay, I have to complete my journey. This pimping of the car itself will take like 2 days. The journey is only worth 2 hours, so why bother so much? But keep the car in shape so that it reaches safely and doesn't get damaged. So body also, we maintain only so much as that we can realize Krishna within the lifespan. But
That I agree. That I completely agree. We must maintain it to the extent it is necessary. Not to we forget our spirit soul altogether and we're looking after our body. That is the point of make it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Yes, so text 5-6. Brahmana uvacha.
Brahman
Vacha.
Ayam jano nama chalan prithvyam. यह पार्थिवः पार्थिव कस्य हेतु
यह
यः पार्थिवः पार्थिव कस्य हेतुः
तस्यापि चाङ्ग्र्योर अधिगुल्फ जङ्घा
तस्यापि जाङ्घ्र्योरधिगुल्फजङ्घा
जानूर मध्योर शिरोधरांशाः अंसेधिदार्वी शिबिका सच यस्याम्
अंसेधिदार्वी शिबिका च यस्याम्
सौवीरराजेत्य अपदेश आस्ते
सौवीरराजेत्य उपदेश आस्ते
यस्मिन् भवान् रूढ निजाभिमानो
यस्मिन् भवान् निजाभिमानो
राजास्मि सिन्धुष्व इति दुर्मदान्धः
राजास्मि इति दुर्मदान्धः
Mary Prabhu.
Yes, please.
Translation prepared by Sri Prabhupada. Translation. The self-realized Brahman, Jarbharat, said, among the various material combinations and permutations, there are various forms of earthly transformations. For some reason, these move on the surface of the earth and are called planetary carriers. Those material transformations which do not move are gross material objects like stones. In any case, the material body is made of earth and stone in form of feet, ankles, calves, knees, thighs, toes, throat, and head. Upon the shoulders is the wooden blanket, and within the blanket is the so-called king of Surya. The body of the king is simply another transformation of earth. But within that body, your lordship is situated, and falsely thinking that you are the king of the state of Surya. Purport. After analyzing the material bodies of the plankton carrier and the plankton passenger, Jal Bharat concludes that the real living force is the living entity. The living entity is the offshoot of or offspring of the Lord Vishnu. Therefore, within the material world, among moving and non-moving things, the real principle is Lord Vishnu. Due to his presence, everything is working and there are actions and reactions. One who understands Lord Vishnu as the original cause of everything is to be understood to be perfectly situated in knowledge. Although he was falsely proud of being a king, King Raghuvar was not really situated in knowledge. Therefore, he was rebuking the pranking areas, including the self-realized Brahman, Jarvarat. This is the first accusation of Jarvarat made against the king, who was daring to talk to a learned Brahmin from the preliminary ground of ignorance, identifying everything with the matter. King Raghu argued that the living entity is within the body and that when the body is fatigued, the living entity within must therefore be suffering. It is clearly explained in this following verses that the living entity does not suffer due to the body's fatigue. See, Vishwanath Chakravarti gives an explanation, example of a child heavily decorated. With ornaments, although the child's body is very delicate, he does not feel fatigue. Nor do the parents think that this ornament should be taken away. The living entity has nothing to do with bodily pains and paralysis. These are simply mental confusions. An intelligent man will find the original cause of everything. Material combinations and the permutations may be a matter of fact in worldly dealings, but actually, the living force, the soul, has nothing to do with them. Those who are materially upset take care of the body and manufacture the Narayana, poor Narayana. However, it is not a fact that the soul or super soul becomes poor simply because the body is poor. These are the statement of ignorant people. The soul and super soul are always apart from the bodily pleasure and pain. Thank you, Bhaji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hmm.
Something I will discuss.
So, Rahugana was not really situated in knowledge. Because, see, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying in the 5th chapter, Pandita Samdarshina, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, Brahmane Gavi Hastini, Shuni Chaiva Shapake Cha, Pandita Samdarshina. What does that mean actually? Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. When one has knowledge, one will naturally have Vinaya, one will have humility also. And Pandita Samdarshina, one will see everyone with equal vision. That's the real knowledge. Actually, in the 12th chapter also, Krishna is saying the same thing. The knowledge of the spirit science is actually knowledge and everything else is ignorance. One may be a big scientist, a doctor, lawyer, whatever. But if one does not understand the spirit soul, one is in ignorance. Knowledge of this material world is Jada Vidya. Jada Vidya, Mayara Vaibhav. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is singing. So Mayara Vaibhav, this is just like it's a hollow glory. It's like a mirage. Material knowledge is actually zero. It has no meaning. Like I may be a classic potter, but if clay is not available, my knowledge has no use. So just like this, if I'm maybe an advanced rocket scientist, but once this science is finished, once this material world is finished, where is the question of making rockets? So that knowledge is finished. Knowledge has no value. So any knowledge which is pertaining to material nature is ignorance, falls under the category of ignorance, ajnana. Whereas the knowledge of spirit, soul, and the supreme is vijnana. So we have to understand it that way. So because Maharaja Rahugana rebuked the palanquin carriers, including Jada Bharat, it was a clear sign that he is an ignorant man. He really has no knowledge because he could not understand even the position of Jada Bharat, who is actually knowledgeable. So Raghugana also argued that that you may be fatigued, you may be feeling fatigued because you have been carrying this palanquin. No one is assisting you. You are feeling the fatigue. Your body is also old. He was taunting in this way, but actually he meant it, because he would actually think that body gets tired. The living entity is suffering because of the body, because he thinks that the living entity is the body itself. Therefore, he said, you must be tired. You only means soul. It cannot mean body. You must be tired means that he thought that Rahugana, Pariksha, Bharat was the body. So that was another sign of his ignorance. So actually in the Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, we have seen Matra Sparshastu Kaunteya Shitoshna Sukha Dukkada. So Matra Sparshastu Kaunteya, simply because of being in contact with material nature, one can experience the pains and pleasures of this material world. One feels hot or cold or happy or unhappy. All this is simply because of contact of material nature. So what is Krishna advising? In the 5th chapter, Krishna is advising something. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yonaya evate adyanta antavantah kaunteya na teshu ramate buddha. Those who are intelligent do not take part in this misery, which is simply due to the contact of material senses with nature. So such pleasures and pains, they are of no meaning. They are like movies. You don't feel sad if the hero dies in the movie. You don't celebrate. You don't mourn for 13 days. You don't do tehi. You don't do pindadan for the hero. So even though you may feel sad, you know that this is just an illusion. It is just a mirage. So material life is also like that. It is just an illusion. Everything you're seeing in this material nature is just an illusion. So a wise man understands. Therefore, one may be affected by it, but one is never deviated from it. Apuryamanam achala pratishtham samudra maapa pravishanti yatvat tatvat kama yam pravishanti sarve. So in this way, lust is entering into the heart of every living entity. What is lust? The desire to enjoy. So sashante mapnoti na kamakami. So if one wants to be shanta, one wants to be peaceful in this world, one does not take part in this pains and pleasures. Apuryamanam achala pratishtham. Achala pratishtham, unmovingly established. So one may be, so like in a boat, if you're traveling by boat, there may be waves and the boat may, struggle a little bit. But that doesn't mean that, you're going to drown. You don't panic if the boat is going up and down with waves. You know that the boat is safe. So likewise, a pure devotee in this world also knows that these disturbances, the upheavals, are created by material nature. But he is not this body, so he does not take them seriously. He does not relinquish his duties. Srila Prabhupada also used to feel happy. When something would happen, Srila Prabhupada was happy. Or when something would go wrong, Prabhupada would also feel unhappy. But that doesn't mean that Srila Prabhupada was stopping from his duties. Like Srila Prabhupada would get angry. Once he was in Amsterdam, I think, and he went to take this Charnamrit, and someone had put salt in it. And Prabhupada got angry. He asked, who did this nonsense? And one girl was standing there giggling. And Prabhupada got really angry. He said, what nonsense? Who's your leader? What kind of things are you being taught in this temple? This anger was because Krishna's service was being disturbed. Or another time when one temple president got up in the middle of a lecture, Prabhupada got angry. He said, stop him. Why is he going? He said, I am going for seva. He said, well, nonsense. What nonsense will he do? If he doesn't understand philosophy, he'll only do nonsense. So Srila Prabhupada's anger, or Srila Prabhupada's happiness, everything was only from the perspective of bhakti. So, but Prabhupada was not really so much concerned about with what was happening with the body. He would get angry sometimes if the food was cold or chapatis are burned or something. But not that Prabhupada would curse someone for it, or that he would not be able to chant that day, or he would not be able to eat that day. No. Prabhupada was undisturbed. Like when Prabhupada was in London, and he took one flower, and one policeman came running. You are not allowed to take flower from this garden. Prabhupada got really angry. He said, you rascal British, you came to India and you looted everything. And now I'm just taking one flower, which is also not yours. So then Shyam Sundar Prabhu and Guru Das Prabhu were there. They calmed down the policeman and they sorted out the matter. But Prabhupada got angry, seemingly at a material matter. So, but Prabhupada was undisturbed. Not that Prabhupada cursed England or he didn't preach in England or he hated England. Nothing of that sort. Prabhupada got momentarily disturbed, but that did not stop his Krishna consciousness. So you see, this is how one has to understand the material nature. This is how one has to live in the material nature. So this is how one overcomes ignorance. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments? Okay, then we reach the end of our, yeah, you have some question, Aditi?
I was going to say the practical application of this seems very difficult to put in.
See,
Right.
like we were discussing yesterday evening also, see,
Mhm.
understand it this way. Now, if someone comes and says, hey, you fool, you will feel angry.
Mhm.
So long as you have bodily identification, you will feel angry.
Mhm.
But see, try to understand this. Krishna consciousness, pure devotion means what is the objective of your life?
Mm.
You know, if you, after hearing all of this, you become so angry that you're not able to chant, you're not able to do your service or other things, then you are really in ignorance.
Mhm.
Then you are really disturbed, you know.
Mhm.
But if you are able to continue with your chanting, if you're not giving it much thought, you continue your chanting, you continue your reading, then it's all right. Gradually, as your, you know, as your understanding of spirit soul increases, as you become more and more detached from this world, these things will not disturb you.
Mm.
But you continue your bhakti. See, real devotion means, you know, fixing Krishna as your objective.
Mm.
If your objective is your family, your wealth, your profession, everything, then you know, then you will be disturbed. You will be complete. You are anyway disturbed. You are not focused at all.
Mhm.
Then you may chant 1600 rounds also. It will make no sense.
Mm.
What is your objective? What is your sankalpa? What is your cheshta? As
Mhm.
Kishan Prabhu would say, what is your cheshta? What is your sankalpa? What do you want from life?
Mm.
You know, I gave this exercise and everyone was scared. Nobody came back to me. I gave this exercise. You know, just take a piece of paper and write down
Very
what is the
true.
real objective of your life.
Mhm.
I think people
That
wrote
is a
it
very
down and they
scary
became
exercise to
Christian.
do. Yes,
Yeah, just do it. It's a very
that's true.
simple exercise.
Mhm. Mhm. True. So then one question, depending upon the phase that we are going through or depending on the situation we are in,
Hmm.
the the priorities vary. And sometimes
Hmm.
certain priorities take a lot of attention or whatever.
Hmm.
So how do we take that? What do we understand from that? Like we gave so much priority to that particular priority that took a lot of attention that we should not have.
Hmm.
But if we don't,
Hmm.
things won't stay together, you know? Like how do we understand this?
See, first of all, understand that we are the illusion. We live in a body which we think we are
100%. Yes.
man, woman, engineer, doctor. All this is illusion. Now, dharma means to gradually come out of it. You know, gradually we are trying to purify ourselves to come out of this illusion. Okay. Now, what happens is, if you know, we always have a chance of falling back. We always have a chance of rolling back into the dark slope of materialism. So while we swadharma, there are two types of swadharma. One is for the body, one is for the soul. Bodily swadharma has to be performed. Now, if you don't go to work in the morning, your boss will fire you. If he fires you, you'll not be able to pay your rent or your mortgage. You won't be able to, you know, buy your food. So you need to perform that swadharma. But now, with that body, you have some mother, some father, some brother, some sister. You have to take care of them also. Now, suppose you're like you have a sister or a mother or father, and they are not devotees. They want, like for example, if your father says that, you know, can you please help me put something, you know, can you help me make the bed, or can you, you know, please help me cook some food? You do that. That may take 1 hour or 2 hours. That is all right. Even though that is coming under illusion, that is still all right. Because Swadharma, if you can't cook for your father, father will go hungry. Then that violates the principle of Jivadaya. But suppose your father says, hey, how about a trip down to, say, a trip down to Switzerland or a trip down to Hawaii? Let's go for 3 weeks to Hawaii. Now you say, hey, that's my father, I should oblige him.
It's waste of time.
Yeah, that is nonsense, that serves no purpose because you wasted time. You haven't remembered Krishna. That was not dharma. That is not falling under the principle of Jivadaya. So that is atyahar. Like Keshav Prabhu was also speaking some last week or something about this Vivek and knowledge. See, the point is you must have wisdom enough to understand how to apply the scriptures in your life. See, I may talk about Jivadaya, Name Ruchi, Vaishnava Seva, but what do they mean? Now, if I say, hey, I'm a Hare Krishna and I'm smoking a cigarette and I'm flirting with you, and you think, oh no, I have to do Vaishnava Seva, then that is nonsense. Okay, that is nonsense. So that is not Vaishnava Seva because I'm obviously a Vaishnava of no standard. So that is like nonsense Seva. So you have to understand where to apply the scriptures, how to apply the scriptures. For that, you need intelligence. Or as Prabhupada would say, surrender with intelligence. Don't surrender your intelligence.
Your example was very helpful. How do you like Swadharma versus your own devotional service?
Yeah. So Swadharma has to be done. If your son is hungry, you have to feed him. You can't say, hey, let's finish my 16 rounds, then we'll see something. And he's like hungry, like he's really dying of hunger. So that is violence. Actually, if you cook for him and then you are remembering Krishna while cooking also, that will benefit the child also. So, I mean, Pandavas, they were kings. Not that Pandavas were only thinking of Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. No, they were doing kingly duties. They were the ruler of the world. Actually, if you read Mahabharata, Arjun became the commander of the military. The two twins, what was their name? They became the king of the south. Yudhishthir Maharaj was the emperor. Yeah, Nakul Sahadev were the kings of the south. Bhim became the king of Gandhar. So in this way, they were ruling different parts of the kingdom. Actually, they were not even living together. They were like separated in that sense. Arjun, the man who's behind Bhagavad Gita, Arjun who's talking everything, he didn't even become a king. Bhim became king, Nakul Sahadev, but Arjun remained the commander of the military. He did not become the king also. So you see, execution of duty. So not that Arjun was sitting there always talking of Krishna. He was a Kshatriya. He must be learning military arts. He must be practicing those military arts. And yet Arjun is considered the best of the devotees. Priyosime, you are dear to me, Krishna is saying. Priyosime. So you see, you have to have wisdom to apply this knowledge. It's not like a theoretical understanding, okay, A plus B equal to C. Okay, therefore A equal to C minus B. No, it's not like that.
Yes, I think that this exactly is my problem. Like, I need to be flexible. This is exactly what my problem is. A
As
minus
Prabhupada
B has to be C.
Yeah, like as Prabhupada says, do the needful. See, suppose your husband is hungry and he's not a devotee, he's hungry. And he says, please cook something. And you say, no, I have to perform my duty first. I'll chant and then I'll cook. Now, he will get angry. He will fight with you. Your mind will be disturbed. You could have cooked in 15 minutes and given him something.
Yes.
Now, all your day is gone.
Yes.
I remember many years ago when I was a young student, my counselor, we were discussing about bhakti in home. So one boy came and he said, Prabhuji, my parents eat onion and garlic. What should I do? So he said, my counselor, Madan Gopal Prabhu, he said, you eat. What's the problem? But this is onion and garlic. We don't eat it. He said, well, you eat it. It's your mother is cooking. What can you do? Cook for yourself? No, you can't do that. You're a student. You eat it. See, what is the problem? You will eat onion. How much onion? Maybe 2 pieces of onion. If one onion is chopped in dal, you're not eating the whole onion.
Mm,
You're eating some pieces of onion, and then you can go ahead, feel guilty and chant.
yes.
If you fight and say no onion, you fight with your mother, you get angry. Your whole day is
Yes.
ruined and you are in much deeper ignorance.
Mm, very true.
This happened actually with Prabhupada. They
Mm,
went to one family which had cooked onions. So Prabhupada ate it. The disciples said, no, we can't eat. Prabhupada said, no, you should have told them earlier that we don't eat this. Now they have cooked, you can't say no. Now you just eat. So Prabhupada also took that prasad.
mm,
So you see, this is Yukta Vairagya. Try to understand.
yes.
Your objective is realizing Krishna. Next time, make sure that you don't fall in such situation.
Mm, yes.
Right?
Very true. Oh, thank you so much, Ruby. That was very enlightening.
Hari Hari.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Hello, Prabhu. Thank you very
Dandat
much,
Pranam,
Prabhu.
Prabhu.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.